Chapter 213 Snow Lady's Charm. This senior beside him also seemed very presentable. He was tall and standing straight, but right now, he was also smiling bitterly, just like the rest of them. How can I possibly not know them? The one who unleashed the Golden Crow primordial fire is called Wu Ming. Her nickname is the Golden Crow Holy Lady. Of course, we think she should be called Spinster instead of Holy Lady. She's already 30, but hasn't gotten a partner yet. It's not that she's ugly, but it's because she's too hot-tempered. Her temper is just like Ma Xiaodao's. With her around, tonight's blind date is bound to be very exciting. The one who unleashed the dazzling golden rope is Han Ruo. She's very close to eldest senior sister. Among all the female students in the inner courtyard, she's only inferior to eldest senior sister in terms of her cultivation. Can't you tell that she's already a soul Douluo? There are no 8-ringed male students today. Although she's not so hot-tempered, she's still a very proud person. She's not weak at all. She's not one to be offended easily, however, and will sometimes stand in as a teacher. I didn't expect her to be here today. This is very exciting. Her nickname is Golden Fairy. Perhaps she and Wu Ming are so close because they both have the word golden in their nicknames. Dazzling golden rope? It sounds like a very powerful tool soul. Who are you? Our probed. Yes. It's recognized as the best in the inner courtyard. How could it not be powerful? You've seen their positions, right? If you're capable, go and take their hats later. Everyone will be in awe of you then. Yes, yes. There were a few men coaxing him already. Seniors, it's better if all of you do so instead. Who are you? Wasn't going to fall for their tricks. After this brief encounter in the first segment, he was starting to think that the inner courtyard seniors were very unpredictable. All those who started their stuff would be considered powerful individuals in the outside world. There was hardly anyone of their same age that could compare to them. Perhaps Han Ruo and Wu Ming had shocked the male students, but the next few male students started to behave appropriately and stayed as far away as possible from the both of them. They targeted the ladies around the outside instead. However, either those ladies were too defensively strong, or the next few male students were too hesitant. No one succeeded for the next 5 rounds. There were 39 male students divided into 3 rows of 13. More than half of the first row had already taken their turns. Jangla-san laughed as she said, "Hey, are all of you croakers? Why are all of you going to the side? For love, you must be willing to go all out. Otherwise, how can you win the heart of the lady you love?" Under her encouragement, the next few men performed much better. Although they were still a little lacking, they performed much better than before. 2 hats were taken down, which revealed the faces of 2 pleasant ladies. Out of the 17 female students, 3 of them now had their faces exposed. When it came to the senior before Hua Yuao, he gave Hua Yuao a victory sign before he embarked on his turn. He leapt out from his spot. After their previous interaction, Hua Yuao had learned that this senior had a very domineering name. He was called Chu Qingtian. His 6 soul rings flashed brightly as his toes touched the water surface. He moved frighteningly fast. Under the illumination of his soul rings, it was possible to spot brownish yellow hair sprouting from his body. Panther-type martial soul? Hua Yuao was slightly impressed. At this point, Chu Qingtian had already burst out in front of the female students. He went straight towards Han Ruo, who had unleashed the dazzling golden rope earlier. As he made this move, he invited the cheers of the other male students. Chu Qingtian's figure flashed, and he reached her side in an instant. As he extended his hand, he grabbed at Han Ruo's veil. "You're daring." Han Ruo snorted and lifted her right hand, trying to block him, but Chu Qingtian didn't clash with her directly. Given that their cultivations were very far apart, it wasn't wise for him to do so. His 3rd soul ring started to shine, and countless bolts of electricity started to surround him. As the bolts of electricity flashed, he suddenly disappeared. It was as if he had fused with the electricity. What? Han Ruo exclaimed in confusion. Her dazzling golden rope appeared instantly, and turned into golden rings that surrounded her. The flashing electricity was extinguished by her golden light. However, she wasn't the only target of the flashing bolts of electricity. They scattered in all directions. Some of them even flew towards the Golden Crow Holy Lady, Wu Ming. Wu Ming subconsciously lifted her hand, and a layer of golden red fire spread. It formed a barrier around her. At this point, a larger bolt of electricity jerked and seemed to solidify. It managed to penetrate the defensive layer mounted by the Golden Crow primordial fire. A hand extended from the bolt of electricity and pulled Wu Ming's hat down. Wu Ming was surrounded by her Golden Crow primordial fire. As her hat was pulled, it was turned into ashes by the fire, revealing her face. Although Chu Qingtian did tell Hua Yuao that this Golden Crow Holy Lady was already more than 30, she looked like she was only 25 or 26 years old. Although she wasn't as beautiful as Jiang Nanan, she was still very pretty and could be considered a beauty. Wu Ming hadn't expected him to make a move on her. When she tried to retaliate, Chu Qingtian roared and turned into electricity once again. He once again changed into a bolt of lightning that flashed as he moved 100 meters away from her and landed on his water lily. "Senior Wu, thanks for letting me succeed." Wu Ming touched her face, but didn't react. Instead, her face turned red. However, the male students couldn't see her blushing due to the golden lights around her. Han Ruo laughed softly and said something to Wu Ming. Wu Ming lowered her head, as if she were thinking of something. "Good one." The male students cheered. The Golden Crow Holy Ladies had been taken down. Chu Qingtian instantly became the man of the moment. He only had 6 rings, but he managed to pull down Wu Ming's hat after attacking Han Ruo. His bravery and speed were indeed deserving of compliments. Jangla-san also threw him an approving look. She smiled and said, "Wu Ming, don't forget what you promised everyone." Wu Ming blushed and pouted playfully. "I know." Chu Qingtian retracted his smile and said to Hua Yuao softly, "Why do I feel like something's not right?" Hua Yuao gasped, "What's wrong?" "Senior, you were really fast just now. Did you fuse your soul skill into your lightning?" Chu Qingtian didn't hide the truth and nodded. He said, "My martial soul is a berserk lightning panther. Usually, soul masters with lightning abilities use them to attack. However, I don't do so. Instead, I use them to increase my speed. I can fuse into lightning and increase my speed significantly. That's why everyone calls me the demonic berserk lightning panther. In terms of abilities, I can't compare to those 2. However, no one is faster than me in the inner courtyard. There weren't any weaklings in the inner courtyard. Hua Yuao deeply understood this sentence once again. "My friend, you've got to try your best to." Chu Qingtian said to Hua Yuao. Hua Yuao was stunned and asked, "Me? Try my best for what?" Chu Qingtian was speechless. "You've just entered the inner courtyard, right?" Hua Yuao nodded and answered, "I was granted special permission to enter the inner courtyard." Chu Qingtian said, "I can tell just by looking at your age. Don't be worried, it's your turn." Hua Yuao just now realized that it was his turn. As he turned around to look at Bei gestured encouragingly towards him. "Hua Yuao, don't be nervous. Just do your best." Jangla-san smiled as she encouraged him. At the same time, she turned to the female students and said, "This is the youngest out of all the male students today. Don't be merciful on him though." Feminine laughter resonated, and Wu Ming started to laugh. "Little fellow, why are you here when you are so young? Come on, try taking down Sister Ruro's hat. She likes younger boys. Minga, do you want to die?" Han Ruo said coquettishly. She also drew laughter from the rest of the young women. Hua Yuao was a little awkward now. He was at a loss, as he didn't know whether to go or not. After all, this was his first experience. Bei said, "Yuao, do your best. All right." Hua Yuao acknowledged his words and stepped out from his water lily. He was different from the rest of the male students. The rest of them burst forward immediately, but he didn't. He even looked a little slow. He took a step forward and stepped onto the water. He floated above the surface and started to walk towards the female students. The students on both sides that were laughing cheekily and ready to watch a good show started to quiet down. They were stunned as they watched this junior of theirs. Hua Yuao's movements weren't quick, but they were steady. He maintained a stable rhythm as he advanced over the water, not even causing a ripple. It was like he was part of the water. Hua Yuao couldn't directly stand on the water, of course. That was only achievable by a flying type soul master with at least a 7-ring cultivation, and naturally he didn't have 7 rings yet. As he walked on the water, he left a trail of ice behind him. With his control over his soul power, he was able to walk freely on top of the ice. At the same time, this didn't deplete his soul power too much. This was the ultimate ice. Although Hua Yuao Yuao wasn't fast. 100 meters wasn't a long distance either. He only stopped when he was around 15 meters from the young women. The female students were able to clearly make out his appearance once he got closer. They could tell that while Yuao wasn't old, he seemed very mature, even more so than most of the male students earlier. His eyes were also exceedingly clear. Although he wasn't particularly handsome, there was a certain aura surrounding him. Snow Lady, come on out. Yuao suddenly called out. Suddenly, a streak of orangish gold light emerged from his body. Amidst the pitch black darkness of night, the lights from soul rings were already very dazzling. However, this orangish gold light was even more dazzling. When this orangish gold light appeared, the beams of light beneath the female students seemed to dim in comparison. After a moment, the Snow Lady drifted in front of Yuao. Still engulfed in the orangish gold light, she turned to look at Yuao and rubbed her eyes sleepily with her small, white hands. She was evidently not fully awake yet. Wow, even a kid's here for a blind date? An unknown female student exclaimed. Ruoro said, don't spout nonsense. That's no ordinary kid. Yuao was telepathically connected to the Snow Lady and caressed her head. When the Snow Lady saw the surrounding lights, she blinked and was instantly jolted awake. A look of excitement had appeared in her deep blue eyes. Yeah. The Snow Lady shouted. Yuao didn't open his mouth to speak. Rather, he directly communicated with her through his mind. Ja. The Snow Lady shouted again, then flew towards the ladies. Her first target was Ruoro, who stood in the center. She had snow-white skin, a feeling of delicateness, and was adorably chubby. Her big, beautiful eyes even seemed capable of reflecting the stars in the sky. Back when she'd been in the Clear Sky Sect, even the two Sect masters hadn't been able to resist her charms. These young ladies were no exception. Wow, so cute. Come on over. Wu Ming was the first to gesture towards the Snow Lady. The Snow Lady laughed mischievously, but continued towards Ruoro. Yeah. She said to Ruoro before extending her arms, as if she was asking for a hug. Women all have maternal instincts, especially Wu Ming and Ruoro, who were over 30 years old. Their maternal instincts had kicked in the moment they saw the cute Snow Lady. Ruoro didn't even hesitate before opening her arms wide and hugging the Snow Lady. The Snow Lady's body was fresh and cool, and her skin was soft and elastic. Ruoro couldn't help but let out a comfortable sigh. Hugging the Snow Lady felt so great. Even though Ruoro knew that she wasn't an ordinary kid, she couldn't help but comment, why didn't you dress her in warmer clothes? Her body feels so cold. Yuao laughed bitterly. I can't decide what she wears. The Snow Lady created her own clothes. It wasn't something that Yuao could decide. Furthermore, the Snow Lady was a spirit converted from the Ice Snow Lady. Of course her body was cold. The Snow Lady gave Ruoro a hug and then crawled out from her arms. She turned to look at Yuao before turning to look at Ruoro with a pitiful expression on her face and lifted her pinky to point at the hat above Ruoro's head and exclaimed once again. After that, she lowered her head and wore an indignant look on her face. She pointed her two index fingers in front of her. She was the picture of cuteness. No matter how tough Ruoro was, she instantly became gentle in front of the Snow Lady. Although she couldn't understand what the Snow Lady was saying, she understood what she was trying to convey through her actions. All right, don't be sad. I'll take it off. Once she finished speaking, she lifted her hand and took off her hat. Her appearance was exposed immediately. Ruoro appeared much younger than her age and was a beauty. Her eyes were pitch black and her face was thin, but at this moment, her eyes were full of gentleness as she reached out in front of the Snow Lady. After Ruoro removed her hat, the Snow Lady laughed and pecked her cheek. She then flipped around and made her way towards a female student off to Ruoro's side. She proceeded to do the same as before. She pointed at the female student's hat and exclaimed pitifully. Afterwards, she lowered her head and pointed her index fingers in front of her. At this point, it wasn't just the female students who were stunned. The elders, teachers, and male students were all stunned as they watched this strange scene. Bei's eyes widened, while Jiangla's was moved. Her eyes were filled with a sense of gentleness. Without a doubt, she would have made the same choice as Ruoro if she'd been in her place. The second hat was removed just like that as another female student revealed their appearance. Yuao was surprised to find out that he knew this female student. She was the Ice-type Soul Master that had fought alongside him in the Elite Continental Advanced Soul Master Academy Soul Dueling Tournament. Ling Luoken. The Snow Lady laughed cheekily and gave her a peck too. Ling Luoken seemed to be in a daze as she looked at the Snow Lady. She then looked at Yuao again, her gaze filled with doubt, as if she was asking Yuao, what's going on? The Snow Lady's charm was invincible. She used the same method on 3 more female students, succeeding every time. 3 more female students had their appearances exposed, just like that. Yuao was surprised to find out that he knew 2 of them. Xiao was beside Ling Luoken. After 2.5 years, Xiao's appearance had changed drastically. She was much better looking than before. As she was only a little older than Yuao, she'd still seemed very undeveloped 2 years ago. However, she was ahead, taller now, although her figure was relatively still the same. This was the classic post-puberty look. Her ravishing looks had also become even prettier as she developed. She'd succumbed under the Snow Lady's charm and had even stretched out her arms to hug her a second time, but the Snow Lady had avoided her. When she had, she'd almost fallen into the water because of her carelessness. She was only saved by the Snow Lady, who gave her a helping hand. The other female student Yuao recognized wasn't a close friend. She had long, scarlet hair and a cool expression. She was Wu Feng, who possessed the red dragon. Wu Feng had naturally possessed a slender figure, but it was devilish now. Her curves were definitely the most exaggerated amongst the 17 female students. Her figure was similar to Ma Xiao's figure from before. She appeared a little stunned as she looked at the Snow Lady. When she turned to look at Yuao, she appeared as unfriendly as ever. Even though she was quite hot-tempered, even she'd evidently become gentler when her gaze met the Snow Lady's deep blue eyes. 5 female students had already fallen for the Snow Lady's charm. The first 11 male students couldn't even compare to Yuao when it came to the number of hats he'd removed. Snow Lady, come back. Yuao hadn't wanted to take down this many hats. It was embarrassing. So many people were currently looking at the pair of them. He had to at least give the other male students a chance. If he took down all of the hats, he'd certainly steal the limelight. However, he was still bound to become everyone's target. The Snow Lady laughed and flipped through the air as she returned to Yuao's side. She then sat on his shoulder and started to play with his hair. Yuao smiled and bowed towards the female students. Seniors, apologies for the offense. Hey, you're Yuao, right? What's with this little lady? You owe us an explanation. Wu Ming couldn't help but ask. Everyone looked at him eagerly, regardless of whether their hats had been taken off or not. Yuao smiled mysteriously and said, today is the sea god's fate. I can't possibly delay everyone now. I'll explain everything once the event ends. I can only say that all of you can possibly own someone like the Snow Lady in the future, if you're willing. Once he finished speaking, he slowly retreated across the water. He only turned around after retreating a few steps. He lightly crossed the water's surface as he quickly returned to the water lily that he was on previously. All the male students' gazes followed him back. They could also see the Snow Lady clearly as he got closer. Chu Qingtian gave Yuao a thumbs up as she said, my friend, you're quite impressive. You took off 5 hats easily. In my opinion, you would have been able to take off all their hats if you wanted to. You're too strong. Furthermore, you didn't just take off their hats, you also left a good impression on all of them. No wonder you were able to enter the inner courtyard at such a young age. Impressive. Yuao smiled and didn't send the Snow Lady back inside of him. He said to Chu Qingtian, I was just playing tricks, brother Chu. Chu Qingtian also laughed. Playing tricks? I want to play tricks just like you, but I need that cute little girl that you have. What is she exactly? Yuao didn't beat around the bush this time. He could clearly tell that the male students were all eager to hear his explanation. He replied, she's a spirit. How do I put this? She's a special life that I created because of a twist of fate. She's like a body of energy that combined with my spiritual mind, and who's slightly connected to me by blood. Simply put, she's another form of soul ring that possesses life. She's my partner. After he said this, everyone became shocked. They were all talented students from Shrek Academy, and most of them were from the martial soul department. Their understanding of a soul master's capabilities were all very deep. However, none of them knew that soul masters could possess such a life existence. The Snow Lady was an existence that soul rings couldn't compare to. Chu Qingtian couldn't help but ask, we can have a spirit like her. Yuao chortled and replied, theoretically speaking, yes. Brother Chu, let's focus on the event first. Afterward, I'll explain the details regarding the Snow Lady properly. Seniors, you can join in if you're interested in knowing more. He had sent the Snow Lady out on purpose. With his capabilities, there were many other ways for him to take their hats off. Why did he specifically choose the the Snow Lady, he wanted to display this spirit to all the inner courtyard students, as well as the elders. The Snow Lady's formation was a complete accident. However, only Huo Yuan knew the process of her formation, and only he could complete the sealed incantation Electrolux had left behind. The existence of a spirit was undoubtedly more useful than soul rings for a soul master. However, it wasn't easy to create a spirit. Firstly, it was too difficult to find a soul beast that was willing to be sealed and fused. Huo Yuan didn't think that he was capable of doing this, and thus he'd need external help. Shrek Academy was undoubtedly the best choice for him. Through repeated experiments, Huo Yuan discovered that the Snow Lady was 30% more useful to him when she was outside of his body. That was because the Snow Lady was an intelligent life form, and her fighting intelligence was inherited from the Snow Empress. On the outside, she could aid Huo Yuan in battle and enhance his soul power. If she wasn't unleashed, Huo Yuan could only use a few of the soul skills she had bestowed him. Against Long Xiao, he naturally couldn't unleash the Snow Lady. What if the Darkness Holy Dragon tried to abduct her? However, Huo Yuan was ready to start his research on spirits when he returned to Shrek Academy. It was going to be important for the development of Shrek Academy's martial soul department. Personally, he also hoped to help Shrek's 7 monsters obtain their own spirits. With the help of spirits, their abilities would rise a whole level. Indeed, the Snow Lady's appearance shocked everyone, just like Huo Yuan expected. She immediately became everyone's focal point. Bei gazed deeply at Huo Yuan and gave a thumbs up to him in his heart. Although he didn't know what kind of existence the Snow Empress spirit was, he subtly sensed that Huo Yuan had done something impressive again. K2, you're up next. We have to expedite the first segment. Bei said to Hikato, all right. Hikato acknowledged his words. He had already thought of his strategy. Everyone's gaze shifted from the Snow Lady to Hikato at this point. Hikato then did something that no one expected. He kneeled down on one knee, facing the 17 female students. His eyes were also shining brightly at this point. He was one of the few present whose attention wasn't fully captured by the Snow Lady. He was truly thankful towards Huo Yuan. The reason for his gratitude was very simple. Huo Yuan had taken off Xiao Xiao's hat. After 2.5 years, he finally saw Xiao Xiao again. The saying goes, beauty is in the eye of the beholder. Hikato was even more mesmerized by her looks after more than 2 years apart. Right now, his heart was beating twice as fast. His face had also turned red, as he was nervous. However, he was too tan, and thus it couldn't be seen. Otherwise, he could even incur the wrath of a bull. K2, what are you doing? You shouldn't confess in the segment. Bei reminded him as he saw him on one knee. I'm not confessing. Aren't we supposed to take their hats off first? As Hikato spoke, he lifted his right hand. Everyone saw a streak of black light flashing past, and a huge soul cannon appeared on his shoulder. This soul cannon was entirely black. A slight silvery, metallic powder flashed on its surface. It unleashed a terrifying aura when it appeared, even though they weren't facing it directly. The surrounding male students could clearly feel a chill down their spines. For a soul tool to possess such a pressing aura and bring about such a sense of danger, it must be at a certain level. Soul engineers believed that these soul tools were bestowed with life. For such soul tools, they were at least class 7. This meant that the soul tool on Hikato's shoulder right now was also at least class 7, possibly higher. This huge soul cannon was more than 2 meters in length and a foot wide. It complemented Hikato's burly figure well as he placed it on his shoulder. When it appeared, the huge soul cannon catalyzed something weird above the sea god's lake. In response, the female student's soul rings started to shine brightly. In an instant, yellow, purple and black soul rings shone brightly across the lake. When they were faced with a dominant class 7 soul cannon, the female students unleashed their martial souls as they sensed the dangers coming from it. Huo Yuan was observing carefully from the other side of the lake. As these female students unleashed their martial souls, he made a shocking discovery. The soul ring combination of the female student second from the left was very special and familiar. 1 yellow, 2 purple and 3 black soul rings. This meant that her 4th soul ring was already at the 10,000 year level. Wasn't this similar to Wang Dong's soul ring combination? Suddenly, Huo Yuan's heart started to race. In his mind, the beautiful face from that day surfaced in his mind. He immediately wondered whether Wang Qiu had managed to enter the inner courtyard and join the sea god's fate. If that was the case, it was possible that her soul ring combination was similar to Wang Dong's. As he thought that, his gaze focused on that female student, but just when he was about to observe her more closely, Hikato's voice rang out. Don't move and raise your hands. This is a class 7 stationary soul cannon, filled with a class 7 explosive incendiary device. It's strong enough to cover a region up to 1,000 meters in diameter. Once I fire it, I can guarantee that at least a third of the sea god's lake water will be vaporized. Your water lilies won't be spared. Everyone take your hats off. Hikato sounded very dominant when he shouted this. Afterward, the onlookers were frozen in place, including the teachers. Elderson twisted his lips, and Fano had already stood up. He cursed at Hikato. Idiot, this is a blind date. Do you think this is the battlefield? Put your stationary soul cannon away. Chu Qingtian looked past Huo Yuan at Hikato. He opened his mouth wide and said, my friend, are you here for a blind date, or are you here to crash the party? Hikato was stunned. Is this not allowed? Huo Yuan said softly, I don't think so. Second senior, this is a blind date. Why did you take out such a strong soul tool? Bei's facial muscles were also cramping. He hadn't expected Hikato to pull such a stunt. He wasn't just going on a blind date, he was forcing the ladies. Huo Yuan couldn't help but laugh. He quickly asked Hikato to put his soul cannon away. Hikato was still confused, and muttered, can't I use any attack in the first segment? Take off the hats with my attacks. I haven't even attacked yet. I only threatened them. Hikato, you can't go overboard. Even though you're a soul engineer and you're allowed to exhibit your abilities, aren't you afraid of hurting these ladies? Zhang Lisan was also speechless, but she was also amused. As she looked at Hikato, she could tell that he wasn't looking for trouble on purpose. Oh, I see. I won't use my stationary soul cannon. However, what should I use now? Zhang Lisan managed to control her laughter. How would I know what a soul engineer is supposed to use? Go closer and try not to drop into the water. Attack the ladies without hurting them, and try to snatch their hats. Do you understand? Hikato nodded and mumbled. Right, you're the only one who's clear with their words. Eldest senior brother wasn't even clear. He told me we could use any attack. Bei turned black, and turned his head away. His expression also seemed to be telling everyone that he didn't know Hikato. On the other side, Shu Sanchi was already laughing profusely. He thought to himself, Bei, you brought this upon yourself. Hikato, please begin. Take advantage of the time you have left. Zhang Lisan reminded him once again. More than 15 minutes had passed since the first segment had started, but they weren't even 1/3 finished. If it continued like this, the blind date would carry on into the night. All right. Hikato stopped being sarcastic. As he pointed his toes on the water lily, the center of the lily submerged into the water, and he almost tore it apart. However, Hikato only managed to lift himself 2 meters into the air. He seemed a little clumsy. However, Huo Yuan could clearly sense a change in his aura. Only he knew that this second senior of his wasn't clumsy. He only appeared to be so. He must have done that just now on purpose. However, no one knew what his intention was. What was Hikato's intention? It was a simple one. He was too nervous, and needed to calm down. Of course he knew that he couldn't use a class 7 soul tool, but that was also a way of demonstrating his abilities. He didn't care about the opinions of others, except he cared greatly about Xiao Xiao's view of him. Thanks so much for watching this video. Don't forget to hit the like button and subscribe. Also leave a comment down below with suggestions on what novels to read.